Nephilim arguments and biblical explanation. My arguments against the deception of the theory of the Nephilim, supposedly offspring of demons and human beings. God's people, children of God, sons of God. Who do you think these titles refer to? Creatures that belong to God, be it humans or angels. So how do some people manage to use one of these titles, namely sons of God, to suddenly be about exactly that group of creatures that were cast out of heaven and permanently fallen, who no longer under any circumstances can further be called for sons of God, namely demons, the fallen angels? But that is precisely what they do, all those preaching one of the greatest deceptions in the end times, Nephilim. The Nephilim is supposedly an offspring, according to them, which supposedly should come from a union of demons and humans. I have written about this a few times before, about how unbiblical the Book of Enoch is, a book that does not have its authorship in the Biblical Enoch. This is where they pick this deception from. In this case, it was therefore the sons of God, the descendants of Seth, who took the wives of the descendants of Cain, sons of men. Again, this Nephilim theory of demons intermingling with women, humans, whose offspring were called the Nephilim, were according to their source, Book of Enoch, which turns out not to be the Enoch of the Bible, were 300 cubits equals 450 feet equals 138 meter tall. Again, normal-sized women had sex with demons and their offspring grew up to be the size of Noah's Ark or a football field. And their weight would be 37,000 tons. So according to Enoch there would have been 200 of these offspring the size of Noah's Ark and with a weight of 37,000 tons walking around on this earth at one point. Please explain to me how on earth such a crazy theory could suddenly become so popular? It is absurd. And they believe and claim that the offspring of these Nephilim still walk among us today. Christians who believe in the teaching of the fallen, that there were fallen angels intermingling with humans and their offspring were hybrids and unredeemable, is extremely dangerous. Where do they get this teaching from? The Book of Enoch more so than the Bible. They are basing a teaching on one Bible verse in Genesis and put a personal interpretation on that verse based on what they have read in the Book of Enoch, which has nothing to do with the Bible, clearly. That book has been exposed as being very contradictory to God's word and pure nonsense in many ways. I firmly believe this to be a great deception, this teaching of there being fallen ones, a hybrid of fallen angels intermingling with humans. There were giants in those days, yes, but not 450 feet tall. Adam and Eve lived until 1,000 years of age, is it not logical that their stature was taller as well? This had to do with pure genes, the longevity and stature. Longevity is associated to this day with a taller stature. I believe it was the children of disobedience, the descendants from Cain intermingling with the descendants of Seth this verse is referring to. In any case, basing your interpretation on the Book of Enoch is very dangerous and likely to lead to deceptive theories. That book is clearly unbiblical and meant to deceive. This bears repeating as the Nephilim like rose to new heights. Who were the sons of God and daughters of men? Certainly no fallen angel mixed with a human creating a hybrid. Angels cannot procreate. This explains it well. For some time the two classes remained separate. The race of Cain, spreading from the place of their first settlement, dispersed over the plains and valleys where the children of Seth had dwelt, and the latter, in order to escape from their contaminating influence, withdrew to the mountains, and there made their home. So long as this separation continued, they maintained the worship of God in its purity. But in the lapse of time they ventured, little by little, to mingle with the inhabitants of the valleys. This association was productive of the worst results. The sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair. Genesis 6:2, the children of Seth, attracted by the beauty of the daughters of Cain's descendants, displeased the Lord by intermarrying with them. Many of the worshippers of God were beguiled into sin by the allurements that were now constantly before them, and they lost their peculiar, holy character. Mingling with the depraved, they became like them in spirit and in deeds. The restrictions of the seventh commandment were disregarded, and they took them wives of all which they chose. They are basing a teaching on one Bible verse in Genesis and put a personal interpretation on that verse based on what they have read in the Book of Enoch, which has nothing to do with the Bible clearly. That book has been exposed as being very contradictory to God's word and pure nonsense in many ways. I firmly believe this to be a great deception, this teaching of there being fallen ones, a hybrid of fallen angels intermingling with humans. There were giants in those days, yes, but not 450 feet tall. Adam and Eve lived until 1,000 years of age. Is it not logical that their stature was taller as well? This had to do with pure genes, the longevity and stature. Longevity is associated to this day with a taller stature. And if you mix a tiger with a lion, what is the result? A liger that is larger than the parents. I believe it was the children of disobedience, the descendants from Cain intermingling with the descendants of Seth this verse is referring to. In any case, basing your interpretation on the Book of Enoch is very dangerous and guaranteed to lead to deceptive theories. Although they are quite easy to expose with logic and the Bible. Also, if fallen angels could procreate, why would they be tempted by human women, when they are supposed to be far more beautiful and perfect than humans? Another reason why it makes no sense, and that is if these angels were capable of procreation. It also states, for in the resurrection they, humans, neither marry, nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven. Matthew 22:30. This strongly suggests that angels are not created to have sex or procreate. In the Old Testament, the very act of having intercourse with someone meant they were now considered married. In the resurrection neither angels or glorified humans will be able to have sex or produce offspring.